So Sarah's saying that all energy is provided by government, and I don't quite understand her question in this sense. That's just not true. The power plants are owned by private utilities. They're heavily regulated by government, but generally they are private entities, and there's absolutely no constraint in a free market on people producing energy from gas, natural gas, energy from coal, energy from fuel, energy from winds, or whatever they deem economically feasible, right? So you would have, in a free market, you would have vastly enhanced competition on the production of energy. And we're seeing that. Certain states who've done some deregulation of energy markets are seeing more competition in terms of the creation, the production of energy than states where that part of the energy market is very regulated. So the first step in deregulation, or one of the steps in deregulation, is to get the government out of controlling how energy is produced. And right now we're subsidizing windmills, we're subsidizing solar. That's all nonsense. Just let the market work. If oil prices go through the roof and they become so expensive that people can't afford electricity, then people will start investing in so-called alternative energies. But let the market make the choices of what energy sources. Now, in terms of distribution, I see no reason why you couldn't have competing distribution lines, distribution methods. There are all kinds of innovations that could be created in terms of distribution of electricity and distribution of energy. Now, again, I assume she's talking about electricity, because other forms of energy are distributed privately. Gasoline, for example, you get those into pumps by private companies. The state has regulatory involvement, but no real ownership of it. There's no reason you couldn't have competing distribution lines or owners of distribution lines that rent the lines to different companies at different rates during different times of day. You got to just get the government out of that business. And then the same is true of what's called kind of the last mile into the home. There are lots of ways to get that in. Why you could do it underground, you can do it overground. You could lump it in with your cable service and other services. There's no one way to deliver electricity into the home. And indeed, in the early days of electricity, there was competition. There was competition for the lines. There was competition for getting it to the home. And there was, and it is the state that stepped in and stopped all this competition and monopolized all this and forced these utilities, forced there to be only one utility, for example, for providing electricity in, let's say, San Diego County. Only one utility is allowed or is authorized to provide electricity. There's no reason why that should occur. Let the private market work. If it turns out that from an efficiency perspective, only one utility should provide electricity in San Diego County, fine. Then let's have one utility providing it. So I would deregulate all of that. Whatever assets owned by the government, I would sell, and then I would get out of the business of setting rates. Deregulate the entire process, but that means that wholesale prices should float with supply and demand, and retail prices should float with supply and demand. The problem in California, for example, they deregulated wholesale prices. They allowed wholesale prices to move. This is the prices at which the utilities, the local utilities are buying electricity, let's say, from somewhere else around the country. That price could float. But the price at which the utility company sold me electricity, that was fixed by a regulator. So when electricity prices went up in the national market and supply went up, and the regulators refused to allow the retail price to go up, that's when you get shortages. That's when the utility just can't buy enough electricity to fit the supply. Let all the prices float. Let supply and demand get matched. Let competition and innovation. There's no innovation in this field, partially because there's no competition. And let's find new ways to deliver electricity into the households.